to let things spool up here. All right. All right, ladies and gents, welcome back to the Edge Live Q&A. It is Friday, April 5th, and today I'm Kylan Hurt. I'm one of the front-end developers here at Edge, and I'm joined by our chief architect, Mr. William Swanson.
Today you're Kylan, huh?
Today,
What were you yesterday?
I'm a chameleon. I'm all sorts of things. I'm whatever the audience wants me to be. How's everything going, William?
Wonderful, wonderful. We just got our release out this week, so it's always a good week when it's a release week.
Yeah, absolutely. I believe there's a lot to talk about, so why don't we start with the new release?
I believe the number is 173.
173 it is, I believe. That's correct.
And I think you'll find this one on Android, and I think we're still waiting for Apple's approval on iOS. So
okay,
perhaps it'll be today, perhaps later. Who knows? What changed in this release?
There have been a lot of changes, haven't there? I know there were. We did make some changes to the Bitcoin plugin, not quite as many as we were originally going to. A lot of changes that we've been working on for a long time, right?
I don't think those actually made it in.
Oh, okay. So those will be coming next time down the road.
Yeah, we had a little bit of difficulty with getting some stuff ready in time for the release, so we had to back out some features. But
right, let's see
what
here.
we did work on mostly was our lingering performance issues.
Okay.
The previous release, 171, I think,
Right.
worked great. Lots of performance improvements. Startup time was faster. Tapping around was faster. Wallets loaded faster. But if you had really, really big accounts,
Right.
or lots of accounts, it would go really slow. It would be chunky. You'd like click a button and you'd like wait for a couple seconds and it would like slurp into action. And we figured out what was happening was the core, the part that does the financial stuff, the parts that checks the blockchain, was going so fast. It was sending so many updates to the user interface that the user interface couldn't draw fast enough to keep up with what was changing.
Right.
So we put in a lot of throttling, a lot of performance optimizations around that stuff. So now it runs a lot smoother for big accounts.
Yeah, I mean, in general, the amount of stuff that's going on in our app is quite a bit more than your typical app. A typical application will just show you essentially data coming from a server, and unfortunately fortunately or unfortunately with cryptocurrency and blockchain technology, the distributed nature of it, there's all sorts of servers being hit, and more importantly, our app uses a lot of encryption to help keep your data safe, but that also means that they need to be able to decrypt things, so both encryption and decryption, and storing those sorts of encrypted files uses up quite a lot of processing power. So we've made adjustments to sort of separate that encryption process from the actual rendering of the user interface, which it works great, but when we made that big transition, it's almost like the core was moving too fast at times, right? So the actual user interface had to catch back up. But in general, I've noticed that the app is moving very quickly, and even at this point, the user interface is pretty lickety-split.
Nice. The other thing we fixed was Bitcoin Cash, Bitcoin SV, Satoshi's Vision.
Right.
Splitting was not working in the previous release, so 171. That was a regression. Sorry about that. We got it figured out. We got it fixed, and it's running fine now. Yeah,
I'm getting those split features to work correctly can be quite a bit of a challenge, and I think a lot of the users probably already know that, right? That's why only so many people are offering the ability to split, and there's so many forks too. It's a question of what forks splitting are you going to actually support, because there's almost an infinite amount of them. But we figured there was enough demand for something like Satoshi's Vision that we wanted people to be able to get their coins and actually be able to do stuff with them. So we've already seen people using them, and a lot of people trading Satoshi's Vision, some people buying, some people selling. So it does seem that there's quite a bit of interest in BSV.
And the final thing we fixed for this release that's interesting, I think, is SegWit fees. We were doing a little bit of an oops in our fee calculation. That one's fixed now. So it's just basically a bug fix release mostly.
Right. So let's talk about
fees.
Fees. Yeah, so fees are a very complicated, a very complicated topic. Obviously, when you're using something like Visa or MasterCard, they can set a fee. There's an agreement of what that fixed fee will be. But with something like cryptocurrency, since it's blockchain technology, there's this actual public ledger that everyone has to have a copy of. That means that you have to be very careful about how much information is in that blockchain, because everyone has to store it on their computer, at least if you want it to be decentralized. So that means that there has to be pressures to keep the amount of data being stored in it lower. And the best way to the best way to create pressure against large data is, of course, to make it costlier, right, to store more data.
So there's that. I mean, you could say, okay, well, how much does it cost to store one transaction? Just set the price there.
Right.
But what we see on a lot of blockchains is there's an artificial limit. Like, we don't want the blockchain to have more than a megabyte of data per block, or 4 megabytes, or whatever number you choose. And because of that, that creates almost like an auction environment.
It is very much like an auction environment.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's like, okay, so we have this much space available for sale every 10 minutes. You want to get into that, you got to bid your transaction above everyone else's to get it in.
Right.
And at that point, auctions can have prices that go to the moon.
Yeah, and especially if you have someone at the auction, even if it's just one person who is willing to bid a very high amount, that can affect the market in general, right?
Right. So what we actually saw, the day after, we actually have 2 releases this week. The first one was 172.
Right.
And then the very next day, this crazy thing happened. And so as an emergency, we pushed out 173. And what this crazy thing was, we use a provider for fee information called earn.com.
Right.
And we use their API to tell us what the average fees are. If you want to get into the next block, what's the range of prices they've seen for that? If you want to get into the 2 blocks in the future, what's the range of prices they see for that?
Right.
Somebody, somewhere, don't know who, fat-fingered a transaction on the Bitcoin network. They sent an outrageously high fee for no particular reason. And that transaction, of course, got into the very next block because it outbid everything.
Right.
Because it was like a tens of thousands of dollars fee.
Right.
So our wallet sees that that's what it takes to get into the very next block.
Right.
And then starts saying, okay, well, the mining fee is going to be $10,000.
Right.
Which is, of course, ridiculous.
Right.
Because that's not really a realistic assessment, but that's kind of how the data comes off the API.
Yeah, and it's crazy because we consider ourselves a wallet company, and so we do as much as we can related to actual wallet functionality, but there are some things that get so technical that you need to actually develop an algorithm to come up with the appropriate numbers, the appropriate levels, for example, for fees. So that's one of the reasons why we kind of use third-party service, right? We focus on wallet functionality. If someone wants to handle fees, let them focus on that, and then we use them as a service. We pay them because they give good data. But fees are so complicated, especially at times when prices are increasing, that even the people who specialize in them can't always get it right.
So what we had done in the past to solve this is we didn't say, let's get us into the very next block. Our standard transaction fee is get us into the second block, right? Not the very next one, but the next one.
Right.
And that means, because it's always one block in the future, that you're never going to see those crazy high numbers. But we thought for this next release, well, we'll go ahead and turn it down to 0 blocks to get a little more aggressive and get transactions confirmed faster.
Right.
And then that, of course, exposed us to this problem. So the solution was simply to push it back to 1 to 3 blocks instead of 0 to 2 blocks.
Right.
And then that completely isolates us from these sorts of weird anomalies.
And 1 to 3 is what we were at before?
What we were at before, yeah.
Okay. So that is one of those things where you might see that it takes a little bit more than 1 block for your transaction to get in, but the flip side is you don't have to worry about paying, you are less likely to have to worry about paying some exorbitant fee.
Right.
Yeah, it's crazy. Fees are just, it's a crazy topic. It's one of those things that's imperfect. A lot of the users don't see what's going on behind the scenes, but we are actually talking about maybe adding some features to make things a little bit more transparent so that you get a little bit better idea as an Edge wallet user of what's going on, and especially when things are sort of out of the ordinary. So we're kind of having those discussions.
Well, the other thing, too, is, I mean, besides someone fat-fingering in a ridiculously huge fee and then causing the whole algorithm to go cattywampus,
right?
Which is a funny word.
First time I've heard it.
But besides that whole issue, the other thing that's happening is Bitcoin fees are high in general on the BTC network.
Right.
The fees are like $1, $2, as high as $10. You know,
right.
Depends on how you calculate it and how big your transactions are. There's a lot of factors that go in. It can be actually fairly high fees.
Right.
And it sucks if you're going to go buy, a $30 phone refill like I did the other day,
right,
and pay a $10, $20 fee.
Yeah, that's crazy. It's kind of a reminder of how things were in November, December of 2017, right?
It's starting to feel like that again.
Yeah, and the thing that has me worried, and I think a lot of people worried, is that on Bitcoin specifically, is the block size is still the same size as it was at that point.
Right. But more transactions are getting through because we have SegWit now.
Right.
So that helped to create an increase in the block size by pushing some of the data elsewhere.
Right.
So it doesn't count towards the size.
Right.
But still, it's not fundamentally like an order of magnitude difference.
Yeah, I was about to say that's only, what, 2x, 3x, something like that?
Something along those lines.
Yeah.
When you actually work it out.
And now that we are starting to see the price go up again a little bit, right? That's kind of the big news during the last week. Now, more people already know about Bitcoin. So however many people were getting excited about the last ramp up of price, you have to think that it's probably going to be around the same amount and maybe even quite a bit more this time around, assuming prices keep on going up. And even if you're able to increase the capacity by 2x or 3x, I still don't know if that's quite going to be enough, because remember last time we were talking, $40 fees. So I think a lot of people are concerned, especially or specifically with Bitcoin, that maybe the capacity still isn't quite where it needs to be.
Right. And so what we're going to see here, we're going to see a lot of custodial solutions. Like people are going to go to the exchange, they're going to buy Bitcoin on Coinbase or some other centralized service, and they're not going to move it to their wallet, because why would I buy Bitcoin and then pay $40 or $50 to move it out into a non-custodial option?
Right.
So that's not going to be great. We're going to see more centralization because of this.
Right.
The other thing that could be good, though, is maybe more people will have an incentive to add Lightning to the Bitcoin network, which is the stated roadmap, right?
Right.
Other coins have different opinions about how you should scale, like just add more space. Computers have big hard drives. Why not raise a megabyte to 30 megabytes or whatever?
Right.
That's one approach. The stated approach, the official plan for Bitcoin BTC, is to have everybody use the Lightning Network for their transactions. So moving along that roadmap, is whether or not you agree with that is certainly, even if you don't agree with that coin, if you're going to be on that coin, you might as well follow the roadmap. I guess what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, no, I think that makes sense. If they've stated explicitly, okay, we're going to be doing micropayments or payment channels, then if that's what you foresee yourself using with that currency, then then go ahead and use that currency. But for once, it's almost putting a spotlight on what the actual different use cases are for the different currencies. If you actually want to use it to pay for something with someone who probably doesn't have a Lightning Network node, then maybe it makes sense to use something else other than Bitcoin. People would say something like Litecoin or Bitcoin Cash are kind of the ones that come to mind specifically. If you want something where you can do payment channels and maybe you're going to be doing micropayments, and something like Bitcoin, obviously decentralized applications would be something like EOS or Ethereum most likely. If you don't want anyone to know about your transactions, something like Monero. So this actually might kind of force users to think more about the application of the method or the way that they are actually going to be using the currency this time around.
So to make an analogy that kind of shows my age, when I was a kid, they had floppy disks, right? Like physical disks you would plug into the computer and save your data. And the question always on everyone's mind was, what's going to replace the floppy? Everyone was like, oh, we got the floppy killer, right?
Right.
And it ended up not one thing replaced the floppy.
Right.
You had CDs were how you would get like software, like before.
Right.
Software would come in a box and you'd have physical floppy disks that you'd install. Now it's like CDs or DVDs. And then you'd have, to transfer data to your buddy, in the computer lab, you use a thumb drive. Remember?
Yeah, or like a USB or something, right?
Right. If you need to send it to someone else on the other side of the world, you wouldn't mail a floppy, you'd send an email.
Right.
And so 20 different things replaced the floppy disk. There was no single floppy killer.
Right.
And I think that's what's going to happen to money. I don't think we're going to have the US dollar killer or the fiat currency killer. It's going to be Litecoin for this and Bitcoin for that and Monero for that, and maybe even some centralized solutions like JP Morgan's coin for some
Oh
things.
my, yeah. I haven't been following those enough, so I don't know what to make of them. So,
but I can see it being more of a diverse future, and that might actually be exciting because we have more things that are targeted for more specific cases.
Yeah, so that means that there could be a good solution for each use case, but it also means the users will have to try to learn about what the differences are between the currencies as well, right? Because if someone tries to use an on-chain transaction to send their Bitcoin to someone else and the fees are just exorbitant, then they're going to be surprised when they're paying $100 fee just to pay $50 to their buddy.
Right. It's not great.
They might have to learn the hard way, and sometimes that'll put people off.
So our word of advice for customers, I guess, in this segment would be, when you hit that swipe to confirm, one thing you need to check in this environment that we're experiencing right now is, what is the fee?
Right.
Because if you see that fee is too high and you would rather not go through with it, that's an opportunity not to swipe to confirm and
Right.
go change the fee setting. I think it's in the upper right corner.
Yeah, up the right corner.
Not this, but right about there on
Yep.
or there, I think.
No, yeah, it'll be
On
there.
On the send screen, it's there. Yeah.
Yeah,
Hit
so-
that, and then you can change your fee to low or standard.
Yeah, you can change the mining fee, and can you set the custom fee
You can
right
set
now?
a custom fee as
No,
well.
which is a little bit more challenging, but yeah. So definitely make sure you take a look at that. I think, like I said, I think we might implement some features soon to make things a little bit more obvious as well, because we realize it's confusing, right? Okay, let's see what else we got here.
Well, kind of the thing that's causing all of this is the price pump.
Yeah, let's see here. Bitcoin's at about 4,900, 5,000, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
And I think just a week or two ago, it was probably about
4,100,
3,900, 4,000.
Yeah.
So 25% increase in a week. That's kind of reason to celebrate, right?
Well, I mean, not even in a week. That jump up was like a spike. It took like a
Yeah.
few hours. It was like one day it was 4,000 and the next day it was 5,000.
Is it strange that you're seeing an increase like that in that short a time? Are there whales underneath that are big enough that are causing that, or is it someone sees it's just some sort of hype cycle that happens?
There can be something of a hype cycle that happens. The other
Right.
thing this could be is a short squeeze. Have you heard of what that is?
No.
Okay, so a short sell. This is getting into technical trading stuff, but if it's interesting. I think if you deal with cryptos enough, you're going to hear trading terms thrown around.
Right.
So a short sell is, say you have a Bitcoin.
Right.
I borrow the Bitcoin from you. You just loan it to me.
Okay.
And I sell it. And then I wait a month, and then I buy it back, and I return it to you, because after a month I have to return it to you.
Okay.
So my bet by doing that, by borrowing a Bitcoin, selling it, buying it back, and returning it, is that in that month the price has decreased.
Okay.
Because that means I can buy it back cheaper than what I sold it for,
Right,
and I can
right.
make that difference as a profit.
Right.
So that's how you can make money on markets going down, is you do something called a short sell.
Right.
Well, suppose that I do that trade, and then the price of Bitcoin goes up
Right.
a lot.
Right.
Well, now I'm getting squeezed because if I wait the rest of the month, I might not have enough money to buy back that Bitcoin.
Right.
So you're getting a little nervous, and you're like, hey, I need my Bitcoin back now.
Right.
Because you don't have enough money to be good for it in a
Right.
month. So at that point, I am forced to buy a Bitcoin at whatever price it is right now in order to return it, because the contract states that if the price moves up too much, we're not going to go through with it.
So is that the same thing as a margin call?
It's similar to a margin call.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
So the idea is, if I've got a whole bunch of shorts on a market and then the price moves up just enough
Right.
enough to upset their trades,
Right.
now they're all forced to buy at whatever that price is. And that buying frenzy can spike the price up real
Okay.
hard.
Got it.
So-
I mean, you got to think that it has, whatever's going on, it has to be big if it's able to move the price up that much. I mean, you're talking about what the market cap's in over 100 billion at this point.
Yeah.
So a value increase of 25 billion or so, that's a very significant amount, right? I mean, compared to like world markets, no, but for Bitcoin, it's certainly.
Well, the other thing about that market cap is the price that it's trading at on the exchanges multiplied by how many coins are out there.
Right.
Well, say 99% of those coins are just sitting there not moving.
Right.
That 1% is where the trading is happening.
That's true.
And that's what goes up. And then that kind of creates this phantom value for all those other coins.
Right.
So the market cap's not really a perfectly good way to look at things, but it is useful.
Right.
It can-
Unfortunately, there's not much of a stat that is perfect.
Yeah,
right?
there's no good statistic. Every statistic can be gamed, but
Right.
but at least for market cap, if you understand that that's the limitation of that statistic, it can be helpful.
Right.
So yeah, I think there might have been a short squeeze, or who knows what's going on, but that was a very interesting and very exciting spike up. That makes everybody rather happy. It's nice, but see, we're talking about Bitcoin BTC here. Bitcoin Cash doubled. It had a 100% price increase. It was like from $120 to $300, right?
Right.
So if you're holding Bitcoin Cash, you have a much bigger smile on your face than Bitcoin BTC. What was the other gainer? Was it Dogecoin had a really nice?
I believe it or not, for once, I've not really kept too close track of the price at this point of a bunch of stuff. I kind of just look at Bitcoin and I assume everything will follow. And yes, some fluctuate more than others. I'm pretty sure Monero saw more of an increase than most. But I think this time around, I'm focused a little bit more on my work.
On
you
the
know what I
tech,
mean?
yeah.
It was so emotionally, I don't know what you'd call it.
To follow the price, yeah.
Draining last time around. And I figure, you know what, as long as people are working hard, as long as I'm working hard, then, kind of like what we're doing at Edge. We're developing the technology. The price will eventually get where it needs to get.
Dogecoin also doubled.
Dogecoin also, there you go.
But it's also kind of crashed back a little. It didn't keep on to those gains as well.
Well, I heard they had a new CEO at Dogecoin, so maybe, that Elon Musk bump attention. For those of you who weren't paying attention, I don't follow stuff on Twitter too much, but essentially Elon Musk declared himself CEO of Dogecoin. I think it was around April Fool's. I don't know if it was an April Fool's joke. Okay.
Yeah.
So it probably brought a lot of attention to Dogecoin. Dogecoin has a lot of fans out there. I think we have a lot of what would you say it? We're fans, more or less, at Edge. We have a lot of people that like Dogecoin. But yeah, it's nice to see a big bump for the Doge holders out there.
I follow the crypto Reddits. I'm on Reddit quite a bit. And you see, angry article here, ranty article here, you know. We're going to overthrow this over here. And then the Dogecoin people are just like posting stupid memes all the time. And it's hilarious. It's very refreshing to just kind of, there's a light side. We can have fun here. It's all okay.
That's actually what I always enjoyed about Monero. Is their subreddit too is it's the opposite of vitriolic. It's one where everyone's having a good time. They're messing around. They're cracking jokes. It's interesting. Different. You can tell a lot about a coin and its project, kind of by the community that pops up around it.
Our stated goal at Edge is to try to get the top 10, and we're working on that. And it's constantly shifting. There's one day we're like, oh, we got to add Neo, and then Neo's not in the top 10 anymore.
And now Cardano's there.
Yeah, it's like, okay, well, that's a whole new project we got to look at now.
But at this point, we have enough in our wallet, and so I think at this point, we can add more altcoins or more coins, but we're also focused on stability, performance at this point.
But I feel like Doge would be a fun one to get.
We've talked about it. It's a
smaller cap coin. It's not even in the top 20, but
it's a fork of Bitcoin, right? Or is it
it's a fork of Bitcoin.
There you go.
So
we do have a question on Facebook here. So if you're watching us on Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube, please feel free to throw questions and comments our way. We love interacting with our audience, and we like to have some fun with you guys. So Tim, this one's hard. Pitchiot is what I'm going to say. On Facebook says, one suggestion, when it auto defaults to cheapest exchange in Edge, it would be nice to bypass Shapeshift if someone doesn't have an account set up, or doesn't want to do their KYC, their Know Your Customer. Love your wallet, though. Tim, there's good news for you. If you go to the settings and you go to the exchange settings, you can actually disable Shapeshift. So, yes, Shapeshift was our first exchange that we added back before they had Know Your Customer and anti-money laundering regulations in place. And we realized that our users don't like having to deal with making an account and identifying themselves. So if you go to the settings in Edge Wallet and you go to exchange settings, you can turn off, you can toggle Shapeshift off. And from that point forward, it'll only use exchanges that do not require no KYC. We know our customers wanted that. As users ourselves, we wanted that. In general, we want you to be able to have your own identity with Edge Wallet without having to link it to your own personal identity. That's the sort of privacy that we're committed to at Edge. So that's how you do it. If you have any more questions, feel free to hit us up on any of our channels. So
I also think that we don't go to Shapeshift unless it's the only available option. I think you're right too. I think we deprioritize it. So if you disable Shapeshift and it says there's no available providers, then it's a coin that only Shapeshift supports, and so that could be a sticky situation.
Yeah. We are looking to add more exchanges, as many exchanges as we can. We're at a point where we have the architecture in our app to add quite a bit of plugins. So we are at this point, we are constantly in talks with so many different, I guess you could call them third-party services or potential partners for all sorts of services. Fiat to crypto exchanges, crypto to crypto exchanges. What are some other
well, the fiat to crypto are the big ones. Those ones don't run through the exchange scene because they have to connect to your bank account, so they have a separate area.
Right.
We really want to flesh that out. We want to get it more international.
Right.
We also want sell. We also want the ability to get money out of Edge into your bank account. Like that's a big priority for us.
Yeah, that's more or less our top priority right now. And I think I don't know if we have anything to announce yet, but that's functionality that should be coming very, very soon.
One of our team members every morning at our daily, what are we working on today meeting, he's like, yep, I'm so close. I just got to fix this one bug. You just got to fix this one bug, so it's.
So Alan, if you're watching this, turn off the broadcast and get back to coding.
So we hope to have another release soon after, which adds another exchange provider for that.
Yeah, and there's some other stuff too. Like we added bit refill, so instead of just doing fiat to crypto or crypto to crypto, now you can fill up, all sorts of gift cards. And
we've been talks with other providers of things like that as well. The ability to get vouchers and gift cards and refill phone minutes, which we have right now.
Right.
All kinds of different merchants are wanting to integrate as well, but those are less priority, I think, than the exchanges.
So what would that be like? You're talking merchants, meaning like what do you have an example? Like Purse or something, or
Purse might be an example. Another one would be some of the crypto loan companies, right?
Crypto loan.
Right, where you can deposit your crypto with them.
Kind of like
Salt. Yeah,
right.
When they would send money to your bank account, and then you could use that, and then you pay them back like a debt, right? And then if any time you default on the debt, they just take your crypto and you're back.
So it's safe to say at this point that Edge Wallet is looking to add extra services. They're kind of like tangential to wallet services. How would you describe that? We're increasing the functionality.
Just increasing the value, right?
Yeah.
Like there's less and less reason why you would have to go to someone's website and copy a QR code into your app, because it's seamless, right? We want to make everything seamless and easy. We don't want you to have to email yourself a QR code and type in numbers. And,
leave the app and have to do this and that, right?
Yeah, we want to try to make that easy as possible. So loans are good. Locking Bitcoin amounts to fiat, right? So you say, okay, I've got so much Bitcoin. I don't want to necessarily transfer it to my bank, but I would like to lock it, so the price fluctuation doesn't affect it.
Right.
There's services that provide that. Buying things. I think there was one service that you could use to gift crypto to your friends, where they physically mail them a thing.
Right.
There's all kinds of different concepts that people have brought up to us. Oh, staking is a service.
Okay.
Yeah, there's all kinds of people we've been talking to. We can't announce anything, but we've definitely been talking to people.
Right. So what would an example of staking be like? What does that mean?
Say you wanted to make money mining, right? You can buy a contract to rent hash power somewhere in Iceland, and they mine for you. Well, this would be a different service where you would send them some EOS,
right?
And they would stake the EOS on the EOS network and give you some cut of their profit.
Okay, got it. Okay, so it's the proof of stake sort of. Okay.
Equivalent of buying a mining contract, but for proof of stake coins.
Okay, cool.
So we can't announce anything, but we are definitely talking to people, and I'm excited to see what the future brings. It takes a long time, surprisingly long, to integrate things, but once it's done, once you've got the first couple in, then the future becomes easier, because it's just repeat the same process.
Right, absolutely. All right, so let's see here. Should we go over some of the events? We're coming close to a half hour here. I believe we will be making appearances at some of the upcoming events, correct?
I think so, yeah. We have some conferences scheduled.
Let's see here. So I know the main one that I can think of off the top of my head is CIS, which is in Los Angeles. Gosh, I'm trying to think here.
Is it the
Crypto Investment Summit. And I believe we have probably at least 4 or 5 of our, of our team members are going to be there. So I think Brett's going, Jessica's going, Peter's going. Is Paul going to be there?
I think he's back in town for that.
Yeah. Paul, our CEO, is on break right now, but I think he's about to come back in. So CIS is next Monday to Wednesday. So if you're in Los Angeles and you're at the Crypto Investment Summit, please say hi to our team. Check them out, pick their brain, and learn some more about Edge Wallet. And don't forget to pick up some swag. In my opinion, I'm going to boast, I do think we maybe have the best shirts in
our T-shirts
in the industry.
Super comfortable. They're like my favorite pajama shirt.
Yeah, I was about to say, these are the type that you can wear to bed. They're nice. And they look good. All right. Anything else?
I think that pretty much covers it. Remember, your keys, your coins,
All right, guys. Till next Friday.